Hey there, folks. It's the E-Man here. Today I wanted to look at excuse me, my Sega Saturn collection. I guess one major thing I have to do is show my Sega Saturn backup unlocker. Yep, Sega Saturn backup unlocker. There we go. Yeah. Well, essentially, it's one of those action replay carts that was was pseudo Saturn put upon it. You know, you can flash it to do that. Of course, then you can't use it as an action replay or whatever. I do have an actual action replay thing, but yes, this plugs into the cartridge slot on the Sega Saturn. And a lot of you may be asking, what is exactly the backup unlocker? Well, it allows you to play burned games. A lot of people try to say backup games, but I mean, essentially you're burning the game data onto a disk. And then this allows that disk to actually work. Otherwise, you have to do the disk swap trick, you know, which wears out the motor in it, and it's like, yeah. It's cool to be able to play on original hardware, if you like playing on original hardware. Saturn emulation seems to be up in the air. I guess you really got to look into it if you want to do emulation. Yes. Well, yeah, usually the backup unlocker. Yes, and I got this from a Retro Gamer and Backups off of the Etsy site. Yeah, as I've said before, that for Teddy Rubskin, I guess he supposedly had one of these. Yeah, and I noticed there's been a lot of people doing lately doing. Yeah, well, some people have been talking about emulation recently, and this is like somewhat emulation, but probably not. Well, whatever. See, Saturn games seem to be a lot easier to burn than Sega CD games. But let's take a look at some of the games that I have that I can play. Stall, a platformer, a pretty cool game. Sega Lord X uses the opening Sega in his videos, I believe. His opening. We got Rayman, platformer, the original Rayman. It starts out kind of easy, but gets really, really difficult over time. The difficulty on it is like way through the roof. I got some shooters here. I got Galactic Attack. There's a shoot 'em up. Really great shoot 'em up, by the way. Yeah, pretty good. And as I've said, a lot of these great games, people may say, boo, you're pirating and blah, blah, blah. It's like, have you seen how expensive some of these games are? Yeah, a lot of these good games are usually like $80, or they're like $200, or some outrageous amount of money, so whatever. Legend of Osiris, which is a prequel, I believe, to... I can't remember the name of it, but I remember there was a Genesis game. It's kind of the Legend of something or other, but this is a prequel to that. So a pretty interesting game. I would say an action RPG kind of thing. Let's see. We got SimCity 2000. This requires a lot of storage on the excuse me, a lot of storage on the Saturn. So make sure you have enough empty slots in the internal memory of the Saturn, because it requires a lot. It's not a bad game, but there's better ways to play that. They have the Granada like RPG series, the first one. This is of course the English patch, because this is the original Japanese version released on the Saturn. Yeah, and as you can see, these are burned games. I just write on them. There's nothing spiffy. If you go to places like Etsy and stuff, you can get cases, and the artwork, and make them look like an actual disc. Then we have the Golden Axe The Duel, which is a Golden Axe fighting game. I get not very far. Some of them is one of those fighting games. I'm not good at fighting games, but I do wish we had better Golden Axe representation on the Saturn. But, well, you get what you can get, I guess. Another shoot 'em up, Thunder Force, which is kind of a pack-ins of multiple games. I think it's the Japanese version, because I don't think there's an English version of it. Die Hard Arcade, kind of a beat 'em up. I don't know if many of you have played it or not. It was basically some other game that they put the Die Hard license on to, like, whatever. Okay, let's see. Some really good ones here. We got Panzer Dragoon 2. Pretty awesome game. The Panzer Dragoon series. Quite a series on the Saturn. Let's see. We got Enemy Zero. I'm not really sure what this game is. I haven't really played it. Find some of these ROMs and burn discs. I use Image Burn and burn it. Sometimes the burning doesn't work, but mostly it does for this. Salt Suit Linus, Japan. Cool version of it. A lot of these games seem to be being released lately. That one that was like called Cybernator here, but called something else later, but yeah, whatever. We got Corpse Killer, kind of an odd kind of shooter, FMV stuff, weird, but interesting. So we have the game that started it all, the original Panzer Dragoon. Kind of an on-rail shooter, feels kind of like an arcade game, more or less. Yeah, a pretty good series, I will admit. The music, wow. Yeah, you could usually play this if you play the Panzer Dragoon Orta. The original Xbox had like a version of it. Of course, you can now, it's backwards compatible on the Xbox One. Definitely suggest playing that one. Then you can unlock this one as a bonus, the first game. Then, of course, we have Guardian Heroes here. I've seen this game going for like $800. So if someone wants to say, boo, you're pirating it. It's like, I'm not. I'm not selling these for money. It's like, the ROM is available. I'm not saying where the ROMs are or whatever, so whatever. But Guardian Heroes, yep. A very good beat 'em up game. I guess you could say an action RPG. A very interesting game on the Saturn. One of the greats. Well, $800. Great, I guess. We've got Sonic Jam. It was kind of like there's a 3D plane where Sonic can walk around on, kind of showing you what he could have been on the Saturn. But it has all of the original Sonic games on it. The original Sega Genesis games on it. Sonic Jam. Yeah, I'm not really sure how to pronounce this name, but I think it's another shoot 'em up. Sinu Ryu or something? Whatever. Let's see. House of the Dead. Shoot 'em up. Yeah. Hard to play light gun games without a light gun, but it's a pretty good game. The Saturn version was kind of nerfed. I know there is now a remastered version of House of the Dead on everything, like on the Switch. I guess most of the modern consoles now have the remake of it, which is cool. It is like pretty much the same game. Their graphics, of course, because this one's graphics were a little bit. I got Castlevania Symphony of the Night English patch. So it's the best way to play Symphony of the Night, the Saturn version, which was only released in Japan. Play the English patch that has English subtitles added to it. They still speak Japanese, but it's cool to play it, because then you get to play the extra parts of the castle, some extra weapons, and an armor that you didn't have in the PlayStation version of it. There is slowdown in it, of course, but it's still a pretty good game. Let's see. Shinobi Legends, kind of a FMV kind of thing. I mean, there's still like Shinobi fighting, but it's kind of a weird kind of style to it. Okay. Now, when I went to Etsy, I was able to get this game, Panzer Dragoon Saga. Yes, I've seen this game going for $1,500 last time I checked, and then someone charging like $600 for each individual disc. Someone was selling like the individual disc. And of course a lot of those discs are like 20 years old, and these multiple disc games, usually a lot of the discs get pretty worn out because they had to keep, especially like the first disc and whatnot. I think I had heard the demo version of this game was supposedly covered the first disc. So that's a little bit weird. course, this is an RPG kind of version of Panzer Dragoon. Of course, on Etsy, I was able to get a custom case, make it look cool. You know, it's not one of those big old plastic ones. It's a brand new, like, kind of PS2 kind of case. Yeah, and this uses the 3D control pad with the Saturn. And see, all 4 discs, and they've been specifically done. You can see the special labels on them. Yeah, it would be very hard for you to figure out if this was not genuine. Of course, as I said later, this will not work unless you have the backup unlocker. This, of course, is... There was an English version of this, but I think it was a very rare game, too. Well, and around the time this came out, what were most people doing? They were probably playing Final Fantasy VII. So this game is like 98. So, relatively close to when Final Fantasy VII was kind of popular. Yeah, a lot of people never heard about this game because a lot of people were already on the PlayStation and the Saturn was thought of as too expensive, and it was. So, whatever. That's the prize of my collection. I mean, I tried playing this on emulation, but it was really slow and couldn't really get it to work very well. But now I have it kind of figured out. A very great game. I don't think it's worth $1,500, but it's really a great game. The last of the Andromeda series, it feels like it was kind of rushed out because it was at the end of the life cycle of the Saturn. So kind of a last thing of Team Andromeda that created like all the other ones. Panzer Dragoon Orda is another really great game, and supposedly Orda is the daughter of the main character. Like he's the father of her. I think his name's Edge or something, and then that's the like a synthetic person. I think they have a child, and then that's supposedly the character in Orda that you play as. But yeah, whatever. Okay, on to the next. I got this quarterback attack with Mike Ditka, FMV kind of like football thing, because sometimes you look like you're in the guy's helmet and looking. Yeah, it's a little weird, but yeah, whatever. It came with the Saturn that I bought. And of course, as you can see, it comes in the those big giant plastic boxes that just get beat to hell. And oh, and of course, you know, see, you have to put styrofoam in there to kind of hold the game in, or the game falls out, or the booklet falls out, or the well, you know, the packaging kind of will fall apart or fall into it or whatever. Okay. Because I got my genuine... It is a genuine game. It's not a burned game or anything. Legit game. Legit games you can actually use the action replay with. And you can save them on multiple things. Okay. Here we got Wing Arms. Yeah, it's like, you know, this was one of the games I could get because it was not $800. It's kind of an interesting flight kind of simulator thing. The graphics were pretty bad even then. It's a little bit odd kind of game. It is official game though. Let's see. Yes. We got Virtual Fighter on the Sega Saturn. One of the major games for the Saturn, I think it was. There's been all these packaged editions with this and Daytona and all of that. Another game that I got, it was at GameStop. I don't know if they were joking around or what, but supposedly they were selling this for like $8 at GameStop. I don't know why. I guess why that manager got fired, but copy of Tomb Raider for the Sega Saturn. I mean, what's a better version? I wouldn't really know. Of course, I played my Saturn with using RGB, so I try to make it look as good as I can, but yeah, I mean, all choppy graphics. It was an early 3D game, but the very first Tomb Raider, you know, there have been so many Tomb Raider games, but I think this one kind of has a place in my heart. I think I had a version of this on the PC. It was like really cool to play games on the PC and stuff, like cool and voice acting and whatnot that wasn't in many games at that era. Alright. Well, I think that appears to be it for my Sega Saturn collection. I haven't gotten a 3D control pad or whatnot. I have kind of the original. I think I have the Model 2 one. I'm aware of the disc trick and whatever, but usually that's not very good to do. Wears out the motor. Yeah, a lot of these Saturns are old. I got one used, and I've been lucky, and it's been working perfectly. A lot of people say a lot of time burn. Well, yeah, on the Dreamcast, of course, people say that the burn games might make the disc reader, might hurt the laser or the player or whatever. I don't really know. I've heard that with the Dreamcast or the Sega CD, but I have not witnessed it. Of course, a lot of times you can go buy parts for the disk drive, and of course, a lot of people say, well, you could just use an SD card and do, upgrade the disk drive to just be an SD card reader. You can do that, but it's kind of nice not having to rip open the Saturn and tear out parts and solder in new parts, and you can just do it that way. Play it with a pseudo Saturn and on the thing. Yeah, I did not pay for the pseudo Saturn program. I was paying for the guy to work on it and get it done. There. Yeah. Am I on Etsy? Well, I paid like $30 for the Panzer Dragoon Saga. I got the nice case, and I didn't have to pay $1,500. I think that's insane. And as I've heard rumors that Sega lost the source code for Panzer Dragoon Saga. So thank God for emulation and for the ROM of it being out there. There would be no way to play. There'd be no way to play that game. It was never re-released on anything. Mainly because Sega claims they lost the source code. Or well, Andromeda's gone. Maybe somebody took it. Maybe someone from Team Andromeda has it in their attic or in their garage somewhere. But yes, so yeah. I mean, a shout out to the RGT85 talking about emulation. I mean, I've been aware of emulation since 2001. At first, it was the Super Nintendo. I didn't really see the really, really early days of emulation, but yes. A lot of times it's better to use emulation when you don't have to pay, when you see prices for these games through the roof. I still like to have the physical game, but I'm kind of like hold back a little bit on some of these giant titles. Well, and then plus I also was thinking, like, do I have the space to display these games, or is it worth having all these freaking games? Yeah, I got all these burn games. It doesn't take long to burn games. A lot of there's just what type of disc you use. Yeah, you want to have like one of the more high quality, like random discs and whatnot. Yeah, and make sure that they're the right kind too. Yeah, because one of the weird things is that a lot of the Sega consoles, they use the same discs that you would use for like audio CDs, which is a little bit odd. Let's see, yes. And we use like the Memorax. Use CDRs are the ones to burn on. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Even the Dreamcast. Yeah, even the Dreamcast had used CDRs. That was how people were able to get through the security protection. Yeah, you can burn games on the Dreamcast. I'm a little concerned about if that hurts the disk drive or not. But okay. So that was all my Saturn stuff. Probably got to try to do a video. I might have to figure out how to do capturing for the Saturn, or just use my video camera that I have to try to record some footage from it. Because I want to show you that I'm not like pulling your leg. I do actually able to play these on the on the Sega Saturn. Yeah, I have to get the right thing for like component to HDMI, and maybe I can figure out how to get it to work. But I have it all set up. I can capture all this stuff. I just have to find some time to do it. You know, I'd like to record gameplay footage and then I can talk over it because, well, the capturing, it seems harder to get the microphone to work, like too much echoing going on. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, my room looks like you might think, oh, it's super sunny out there, but no, that's just my light shine, and it seems to be very cold and rainy out. It's like, I don't know, it was like 80 degrees yesterday. We're having to run the AC all day. It's a little unusual in Maine, again, and then, of course, the day before yesterday it was like 90, but, you know, whatever. Here in Maine, it's a little bit iffy. I don't know if a lot of you YouTubers even know where Maine even is. Oh yes, I was able to get my USB microphone. You probably see it poking there. Yep, seems to work a lot better than the camera microphone. I had to that's why sometimes I have to sit so close because it can't hear me very well. This microphone seems to do pretty well. It has some kind of back feed into the capturing card, so I have to be a little bit careful about it. Yeah, sound is always an issue for me. I don't really edit my videos, but a lot of times the issue is usually the game volume's too high, or my voice is too low, and I have a very low voice anyway. It's like how good the microphone can pick this up. Well, I'll see you guys later. Bye.